Look, this I have to, see what I have to do? To use and flush. Because this break up, let's country, this break off. And you know, I can't get nobody to talk to them about it, so I just try to do my own thing. Put my sponge in. I see. Well, I love it.
Yeah. How
Beautiful.
Does it feel to be standing in here?
I feel good. And my daughter, she love it. The kitchen, I love the cupboards. I love everything about it. And this, especially this, I love it. I don't have to bring my old one in the kitchen because I buy that. I have my own space and I love it. I love it. I love it here.
Beck Street was sort of referred to Northwest Bronx at a time where they were really struggling. They were in financial distress, they were operationally struggling. A lot of the residents who have been here were really concerned about the future of the building. And the board and the residents were really doing whatever they could actually to survive and to keep the building alive. But they needed that support, that extra hand in order to be able to pick themselves back up and to be able to bring the building to physical and financial stability. HDFC is the actual legal mechanism that the city has used with the intent to give ownership to the tenants. Today, many nonprofits control HDFCs, and in cases like the Beck Street HDFC is controlled by the residents. So Northwest Bronx had one intention, to ensure that whatever outcome was led and facilitated by the residents.
It really became clear through the weatherization program and by talking to the residents and talking to Northwest Bronx that the building was like really in desperate need of many things. One was a major renovation, but the other was that this is a very interesting building. The ownership of this building is actually the residents of the building, which is fabulous because Manny, Mutual Housing Association of New York, is in fact just like Beck Street, where the residents of our buildings are the board of directors.
I lived in the building for over 20 years. I just became a board member about 4 years ago. When we realized that the structure wasn't really safe, there was two options. We could have given the building to the city and gave up and say, everybody move out, figure it out, or we could have gotten together as tenants and fight to get our building repaired and make it a safer place for everyone. And so we chose to take on the big challenge of getting the building repaired.
It was something that was really life-changing for the residents of this building to be able to actually negotiate with the city, to be able to think about like what contractors they want to choose, to think about even down to the design of the tiles of their bathroom.
It was a lot of fighting. It was a lot of meetings, a lot of hard discussions. Northwest Bronx, they have been our voice at some times because we don't know all the rules, right? And so they have helped with setting up meetings and getting the lawyer pro bono to help us with our board agreements and to make sure everything is legit. And so we had to learn that role from the beginning. Then we have to get into the finances. Then we have to get into the structural. I learned more about construction and finance that I've learned my whole life in this building.
After all of this work, board, Northwest Bronx, Manny, the residents, we were able to close on the construction loan with HPD and the Community Preservation Corporation in December of 2022.
At this point, we have taken care of all of the debt that the building had, which was the biggest concern that residents had. And also we were able to secure funding to take care of all the physical needs. I'm just really proud of the work that the residents and the board took on, which was very scary, to embark in a process with the city to borrow a lot of money and trust partners like Northwest Bronx and Manny to work with them to ensure that they actually come up with a plan that worked for them, and that ultimately at the end of that plan they still have full control of the building, and that the rents continue to be deeply affordable.
Edward has from the beginning always been involved and has always made sure that we get connected. You know, there's always a lot of pushback, and he keeps going. We needed that person to do that for us, to like bring, you know, the board and Northwest Bronx and the management company all together.
The Northwest Bronx with the weatherization program had already kind of started to build trust with the residents, and it was always there. The board and the building had to trust that we would both put our money up and our name up and our reputation, and that we would deliver on that, because a lot of times when there isn't trust, everything gets second guessed. That's why those years in advance, those 3 years that we worked together before closing on the construction loan were so important, because it was all of the technical work and administrative work, and then there was this thing that is intangible, that was the trust, that then allowed us to really close that deal and move forward.
I really want to invite partners to consider working with residents without shifting the structure, the governance structure. I think the invitation is, how can I actually walk in and serve as an ally and ensure that the governance remains the same, that decisions are made by residents, that the board is governed by the residents, and I can serve as a facilitator to ensure that they reach those outcomes. We want to be able to give people the opportunity to have control over their lives and also over the future of their building.